right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Isabelle Lee, taking you through to that closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Carol Massar joins us from the radio booth. Emily Graffeo in today for Tim Stenovic. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, our partnership with YouTube, the S&P 500. Trying to recoup some of the losses from the previous three sessions, but only up right now about 15 points or 0.2%.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't get much from those Fed minutes, right? That's how we kicked off our 2 o'clock hour here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. And those minutes, though, did show that many officials said rate hikes may be needed. But it sounds like, Emily, there's a little bit of debate going on there.
Yeah, there's a debate. And at least for the 2-year yield, it's not really making moves right now. But a lot of focus today on that flattening, relative flattening in the yield curve and the longer end yields moving lower.
I was just telling Romaine that Sam Stovall said that the bond market is supposed to be quiet, and when it's not, that's a big deal, and it's definitely not. It's certainly been making noise. Long-term yields are climbing across the U.S. and other developed markets, France, Germany, and what else? There's one country I'm forgetting, but definitely a global movement.
Yeah, and it kind of sets up kind of this idea, and we've been talking about it a lot on the close and on this simulcast, just the outsized importance that some of these macro and economic issues are going to start to have on the market relative to what we saw in the first few months of this year, where it really was just about, hey, just look at the AI CapEx spend and follow that and ride that wave. That might be changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like that narrative around AI in total continues to evolve, and you see it also play out in the trade domain.
All right, so a big drop in long-term yields here on this Wednesday afternoon. That's putting pressure on the dollar, which is down about almost 1% on the day as measured by the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index. And, well, for everything else, though, it's providing a nice little bit of a boost. Most of the equities in the S&P 500 are in the green, and so the S&P 500 finishes in the green, right around 7708 and change, up 17 points or 0.2%. The Dow up more than 100 points or 0.2%. The Nasdaq Composite is up 0.2%, though the Nasdaq 100 is down by 0.2%, and the Russell 2000 getting in on the action. That's actually your relative outperformer, up by 0.5 percentage point.
Yeah, kind of interesting to see that. I'm going to go back, though, to the large caps, if I may, the S&P 500. You mentioned it, Romaine. If I look inside the index, almost an even split, Isabel. 285 names gaining ground on this Wednesday, 216 to the downside, 2 unchanged.
It may look like an even split, but tech is our biggest loser. You see a big red there, tech down by nearly 2% or even more than 2%. And you're seeing also communication services and financials in the red. Some of the bright spots, consumer staples, energy, materials, all higher by something like 0.2 to 0.3%.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the individual gainers, if I may. Let's bring up Moderna, because this one is definitely an outperformer, top gainer, in fact, that we saw in the S&P 500 today. That name up 30%. It's up about 375% year to date. 13% of the float is short. I got to check that's the year to date, but I'll do that in a moment. The stock's biggest intraday gain.
You didn't check this in advance?
I did. I just, I have to tell you, no, it's in my notes, and then looking at it, I'm like, I just don't even believe it. It's actually up 491% year to date. So there you go. Definitely outperformance. You've got 13% of the float short. This is happening after the biotech company said a personalized cancer vaccine combined with partner Merck's Keytruda helped cut the recurrence of melanoma in a large late-stage trial. So this study provided the strongest evidence yet that messenger RNA technology will have a successful second act, and the companies will discuss filing for approval with regulators and present the data at an upcoming medical meeting. So this provides certainly some tailwinds for this company that's certainly had its ups and downs. Estee Lauder, speaking of ups and downs, let's get to that one. This was a top gainer, too, among the S&P 500. Number 2 gainer. The stock, actually, we're going to bring up Estee Lauder. I don't know if we've got it. That was Moderna. So let me bring up Estee Lauder on my terminal. And Estee Lauder.
What do you guys do without me? So Estee Lauder shares up 16%, Carol Massar. Best day since November of 2011. And I should point out, I just had an interview with the CEO of Estee Lauder, how he keeps the momentum going.
Would you like to do the rest of the list?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Well, shares jumping after the results beat estimates and ended a run of 3 straight declines in annual revenue. Company reported revenue of $3.6 billion in its fiscal fourth quarter, and organic sales growth accelerated to 5%. China was an element, but this is a company that owns many, many brands and has really struggled. Keep in mind the stock is down, or at least it was down about 74% from a high back in early January of 2022. So still has some room to gain back. I want to mention too Twist Bioscience and also the life science and tools area. Twist Bioscience, you can see up 22% in today's session. This company rose to its highest, in more than 5 years after Anthropic chose the drug developer as one of its independent evaluators to help produce AI-designed proteins at scale and test these designs for binding. So it's interesting. It has to do with DNA. So just kind of an interesting trade. Didn't mean to be sharp with you, Romaine. I was just,
That's all right. It's my first day back. But
I know. You obviously have had a rest. I should also mention Hyperliquid, I think, was also a lot higher. Yeah, forgive me. That was my bad. You did put that up first. It was up 30% in today's session. And this happened after President Trump said in that meeting with crypto execs that the CFTC chair is working to bring Hyperliquid to the U.S. And our own Stacey Marie Ishmael said that that was a pretty interesting development. So again, yeah, and this one has been an outperformer this year. All right, all yours.
All right, let's head to the decliners. I'm starting with TJX, of course. This is the parent company of TJ Maxx Home Goods. It fell today. It was down about 4%. The clothing retailer reported second quarter comp sales for its Marmaxx segment, which missed estimates. So the Marmaxx segment is the parent of TJ Maxx and Marshalls, the names we know well. Actually, the top line comp sales did beat, and the Home Goods comp sales also beat estimates. A lot of people going out buying little figurines of mugs or frames, whatever you can get at Home Goods, but nevertheless, the stock.
What are you talking about? Have you ever been in a Home Goods, Emily? It's more than just figurines. There.
Oh my God,
you get like mirrors. You can get like.
Oh my God.
How dare you?
Cajun pistachios.
Should we tell
soap.
her? Yeah, no. We have to take you to a TJ Maxx. To a Home
no.
Goods.
Home Goods.
There's so much that there's furniture.
No, there's a lot there, but it's a lot of.
Sheets,
There is this like
towels,
running joke on
food,
TikTok about
dishes.
like very hyper specific things that you can only find at Home Goods. I won't.
Where
get into
else
it
am
right
I going to
now.
get my Live, Laugh, Love
Exactly.
wood panel?
Wood panel with a Santa on the side holding it up.
Family means everything. All those good
Okay, so TJX group lower. Viking Holdings was another decliner. The share's down about 8%. Management of the river cruise company trying to soothe investor concerns today about the impact of low water levels in the Danube and Rhine rivers. This is an issue that's prompted the cruise line operator to issue vouchers to some travelers. So shareholders not too happy about that kind of update. The company, though, did say that about 53% of its capacity for 2027 has been booked, while increasing its offerings across river and ocean products by 15%. So this is a luxury consumer, signaling at least some resilient demand for the luxury side, whereas you think of a TJ Maxx group. I mean, I feel like that's kind of for everyone, but definitely known to be more on the lower income side. Definitely not a luxury product, but both reads from the consumer here, maybe not looking too hot, at least at today's trade. Okay, and then finally, White Fiber. This is a smaller cap name. It's about just $1 billion in market cap, but it did fall about 21% today. They priced a private placement, $270 million of a senior note offering to build out AI infrastructure. So this just stood out to me because, again, we're seeing AI companies of all different shapes and sizes tapping the debt markets. Eventually, you have to see maybe some questions from the equity shareholders about just what all of this is needed for.
Well, speaking of debt markets, we have to talk about the Treasury markets, the big drop that we saw on the long end of the curve, down 11 basis points, on your 20-year yield, 10 basis points on your 30-year yield, the biggest one-day drop that we've seen in yields on the long bonds since late June. Obviously, all of this tied to Scott Bessent lifting the Treasury's buyback cap, doubling it, I should say, from $2 billion to $4 billion. Liquidity measures, as he puts it, but obviously a lot of questions right now about just what type of mechanisms the Fed is using to sort of keep a cap on yields, and more importantly, why.
Yeah, so let's get to some stories that are definitely on our radar. This one caught our attention. Actually, our Alexis Christoforous talked about it on Surveillance this morning. We know the pushback on a lot of the AI data center build. Well, Liquid Death and Garage Beer have launched a campaign called We Want Your Pee. to help AI data centers cool down without using large amounts of water. So it features a video spot with Garage Beer co-owner Jason Kelsey, you know him well, collecting his urine in a bottle and singing a song about sending pee to data centers. Before you get upset and you're like, oh my God, what has happened in this world? Keep in mind, it's a joke, everybody. But they just...
Obviously, I would hope so.
we live in an interesting
yeah.
time, Romaine. So
So we're giving them a lot of
make the
attention.
assumption.
For our radio viewers, they're walking through a meadow right now with a farmer and a skateboarder for some reason, all holding up large bottles of their own liquids.
But it
Got a
speaks...
straw. One of them had a tumbler with a straw.
Yeah, there's a guy with a briefcase, some guy on a mobility scooter. I don't know how you get that through a meadow.
Well, I should point out this story by Adweek also just points out that about 7 out of 10 Americans oppose data centers being built in their community. So it's kind of having some fun with this, just reminding everybody of the impact.
I'd never thought I'd talk about this as a markets reporter, but there's the first time for everything.
We talk about everything here at
Yeah.
Bloomberg, no doubt about it.